I was born in 1852. I am 85 years old. I was born in Gordon County. The closest town was Calhoun, South Carolina. My sister died in 59. That's the first dead person I ever saw. One of my sisters was give away, and another one was sold before the Civil War started. Sister Mariah was give to the young mistress, Miss Ella Conley. I didn't see her sold. I never see nobody sold, but I heard them talking about it. I had 5 sisters and 1 brother. My father was a free man always. He was a Choctaw Indian. Mother was part Cherokee Indian. My mother's mistress was Mrs. Martha Christian. He died and she married Tom Nealy, the one they called me for, Wylie Nealy. We had a pretty hard time before freedom. My mother was a field woman. When they didn't need her to work, they hired her out and they got the pay. The master mated the colored people. I got fed from the white folks' table whenever I carried the horses. I was sort of raised up with Mr. Nealy's children. They didn't mistreat me. On Saturday, the mistress would blow a conch shell and they know to go get the rations. We got plenty to eat. They had chickens and ducks and geese and plenty of milk. They did have hogs. They had 7 or 8 guineas and a lot of peafowls. I never heard a farm bell till I come to Arkansas. The children ate from paddle bowls or earthenware. Sometimes they ate greens or milk from the same bowl, all just dipping. Liberty and freedom was all I ever heard any colored folks say they expected to get out of the war, and mighty proud of that. Nobody knowed they was going to have a war till it done broke out, and they was fighting about it. Didn't nobody want land, they just wanted freedom. I remembers when Lincoln was made the president both times, and when he was killed. I recollects all that like yesterday. The army had been through and swept out everything. There wasn't a chicken or hog nowhere to be had. Took the stock and cattle and all the provisions. So the slaves just had to scatter out and leave right now. And after the army come through, I was going back down to the old place and some soldiers passed riding along and one said, "Boy, where you going?" Said, "None up there," I says. "I knows it." Then he say, "Come on here, walk along back there." And I followed him. I was 12 years old. He was Captain McClendon. Then when I got to the camp with him, he say, "You help around here." I got sick and they let me go back home then to Resaca, Georgia, and my mother died. When I went back, they sent me to Chattanooga with Captain Story. I was in a colored regiment 9 months. I saw my father several times while I was in Chattanooga. We went down through Marietta and Atlanta and through Kingston. We was in Sherman's army till it went past Atlanta. They burnt up the city. 2 of my masters come out of the war alive and 2 dead. I was mustered out in August 1865. I stayed in camp till my sisters found a cabin to move in. Everybody got rations issued out. It was a hard time. The Yankees promised a lot and wasn't as good as the old masters. All they wanted was to be waited on, too. The colored folks was freed when the Yankees took all the stock and cattle and rations. Everybody had to leave and let the government issue them rations. Everybody was proud to be free. They shouted and sung. They all did pretty well till the war was about to end. Then they was told to scatter and nowheres to go. Cabins all tore down or burned. No work to do. There was no money to pay. I got hungry lots of times. No plantations was divided, and the masters didn't have no more than the slaves had when the war was done. I never went back or seen any of old master or missus. Everybody left, and a heap of the colored folks went where rations could be issued to them, and some followed on in the armies. After I was mustered out, I stayed around the camps and went to my sister's cabin till we left there. Made anything we could pick up. Men came in there getting people to go work for them. Some folks went to Chicago. A heap of slaves went to the northern cities. Colonial Stalker, an officer in the Yankee Army, got us to come to a farm in Arkansas. We wanted to stay together, is why we all went to the farm. May 1866, when we come to Arkansas, is the first farming I had seen done since I left Tom Neely's place. Colonial Stalker is mighty well known in St. Francis County. He brought lots of families, brought me and my brother, my 2 sisters, and a nephew. We come on the train. It took 4 or 5 days. When we got to Memphis, we come to Linden on a boat. Molly Hamilton, they called it. I heard it was sunk at Madison long time after that. Colonial Stalker promised to pay $6 a month and feed us. When Christmas come, he said all I was due was $12.45. We made a good crop. That wasn't it. Been there since May. Had to stay till got all the train and boat fare paid. There wasn't no difference in that and slavery except they couldn't sell us. The first voting I ever heard of was in Grant's election. Both black and white voted. I voted Republican for Grant. Lots of the Southern soldiers was franchised and couldn't vote. Just the private soldiers could vote at all. I don't know why it was. I was a slave for 13 years from birth. Every slave could vote after freedom. Some colored folks held office. I knew several magistrates and sheriffs. There was one at Helena and one at Mariana. He was a high sheriff. I voted some after that, but I never voted in the last president election. I heard him say it wasn't no use. This man could be elected anyhow. I sort of quit off a long time ago. In 1874 and 1875, I worked for halves and made enough to buy a farm in St. Francis County. It cost $925. I bought it in 1887. 80 acres to be cleared down in the bottoms. My family helped, and when my help got shallow, the children leaving me, I sold it for $2,000 in 1904. I was married just once and had 8 children, 5 living and 3 dead. Me and an old woman went to Oklahoma. We went in January and come back to Biscoe in September. It wasn't no place for farming. I bought 40 acres from Mr. Ayalot and paid him $500. I sold it and come to Mr. Joe Perry's place, paid $500 for 40 acres of timberland. We cleared it, and I got way in debt and lost it. Lost it. I've been working anywhere I could to make a little since then. My wife died, and I've been doing little jobs and stays about with my children. The welfare gives me a little check and some supplies now and then. I can't read much. I was not learned. I could figure a little more before my eyes got bad. The white folks did send their children to pay schools, but we colored children had to stay around the house and about in the field to work. I never got no schooling. I went with old missus to camp meeting down in Georgia one time and got to go to white church sometimes. At the camp meeting, there was a big tent, and all around it was brush harbors and tents where people stayed to attend the meetings. They had harbors and tents where people stayed and attended meetings. They had 4 meetings a day. Lots of folks got converted and shouted. They had a lot of singing. They had lots to eat and a big time. I don't recollect of any slaves uprisings. I never heard of any. We didn't know they was going to have a war till they was fighting. They heard Lincoln was going to set them free, but they didn't know how he was going to do it. Everybody wanted freedom. Mr. Hammond asked me not long ago if I didn't think it's best to bring us from Africa and be slaves than like wild animals in Africa. He said we was taught about God and the gospel over here if we was slaves. I told him I thought that freedom was the best anywhere.